This episode contains frank, unfiltered discussion about the N-word. We discuss its history, its use in hip-hop culture, and its cultural meaning. As two Black men exploring this word critically and with full context, we use it naturally as it appears in this conversation. Listener discretion is advised.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, sometimes known by my governments as Johnny Ray Cornegay III and Sir Daniel.
Yeah.
We have not had this discussion, and it is time. We are going to talk about the newly minted, but not really new because it's been a while, what we call the N-word.
Neurodivergent?
No. Good word, though. But no, we are talking about nigga. And it's used in our music.
Nigga. My nigga. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about it. Where you want to start?
So I think it's interesting. I will tell you that growing up, this was one of those words, at least in my community, that was kind of like a word you don't say.
I recall as a child, the N-word was almost like a curse word.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall my mom telling me specifically when it came to Black people using it amongst each other, she felt, because this is a British West Indian woman, she felt it was crass and and showed a lack of vocabulary if you were to use words, any word that was deemed a curse word, profane. She said that it shows a lack of knowledge, a lack of vocabulary, brain power. So if you were using that kind of terminology, that you weren't smart. And so that was that was a foundation for me as far as using the N-word. But then it also became like when you get around your friends and whatnot, you can tell it was like, come on, it's just a term of endearment. And so I grew up with that perspective as well. I recall though, in the early 80s when we were growing up, it was like, I don't know, it was something that comedians specifically like your Eddie Murphys and your Richard Pryors used as a punctuation for a joke. Yes. And it was like the funniest thing. But I also remember it was fighting words.
Yeah.
It was fighting words like if you got into an argument with somebody, the punchline was nigga please.
Yeah.
Like nigga please. That was the ultimate way of saying discrediting somebody or just wanting to take things, elevating things to another level as far as an argument is concerned.
Yeah. Completely agree. Same experience. That particular word, one within the household at that time, it might show up and often did in your to your point, in like comedy specials. So you would kind of see people using it, or in films, but more from a either historical standpoint or a comedic standpoint. But it truly was on the list of curse words. It was up there with all the other curse words, was also the N-word, and it was a word you didn't say.
Right.
And so it really was interesting because we also were part of the generation that saw that word just kind of enter the regular lexicon of pop culture. And that shift. And I wanted to run through, because this was interesting in getting ready for this show, took a look at kind of the evolution of the N-word. And we're specifically talking about hip hop, but also the N-word also shows up in R&B now, which has been for many years, which was also different. But what's interesting is during the research, Sir Daniel, at the very beginning, the N-word was showing up in rhymes. So One early example, and I forgot all about this song because I hadn't heard it in a long time, but Scoopy Rap by Scoopy, that was 1979.
Mm.
Includes the N-word in it. Um, and there are several other songs that over time that were released and had their own 12 inches that also included the word. Scoopy Rap is one early example, but where things really take a turn is, of course, as hip hop grows in popularity and more people are seeing it as this kind of revolutionary form of music, as does the use of the word commonly. And so one of the earliest examples of that, where the word is used prominently in the song, is of course Philly's own Schoolie D, and the legendary PSK, What Does It Mean,
Mhm.
includes the N word in that song. It's crazy because PSK, I don't ever remember hearing it on the radio here as a kid, at least not on regular radio. If you were listening to like hip hop, like late at night, you
Mhm.
might hear it there. But I got hip to PSK just by hearing it from other people playing it. It was not something that I heard on the radio, but it included prominent use of the word nigga in the song, what we call the N word, and that was kind of the first really prominent use because this was a popular song in a hip hop joint.
Like you, I don't recall hearing a lot of stuff on the radio with the N word. It was not until we got a little older,
Mm-hmm.
became adolescents, and we ventured into the golden era of hip hop that you start hearing nigga pop up a little more frequently in people's rhymes and in rap records. Like the one that keeps replaying in my head is Biz Markie's The Vapors.
Yeah.
And when he was talking to a girl, and she was like, "Nigga, please, you work for UPS." But that's
Yes.
bleeped. It is bleeped,
Yeah.
but you know what he's saying because "nigga, please" is a phrase we all
Yeah.
know, and especially if you grew up in the '80s, you know "nigga, please." That's like
Yes.
a one word actually, "nigga, please." So we knew what he was saying, even though it was bleeped out. So there was still some censorship around the use of nigga. But then as we get, and we're going to talk about when we were introduced to Ice-T, 6 in the Morning,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk now about N.W.A.
N.W.A. Yeah.
Then it's like all bets off.
Yeah. N.W.A. kind of becomes the gateway drug to the
To
N word.
nigga.
Yeah, being used in popular culture. So in 1988, when N.W.A. hits the scene with Straight Outta Compton,
Mhm.
first of all, there's so many stark things. So of course you have the album cover, which we've talked about on this show in the past, where you have the gun pointed there, who the camera's looking up at the members
Mhm.
of the band, and there's the gun pointed down at the person, and Straight Outta Compton, which includes F the Police, and you have that along with the name of the group. Now, N.W.A. at first, when you hear it, I didn't know what the acronym stood for, and then of course somebody told us what the acronym stood for, and when you're like niggas with
Huh.
attitude, like
Huh.
you could just say that, like that could be the name of your group.
Mhm.
And it literally did kind of open that door to that word becoming a regular part of the lexicon. And then by the time we get the second album, Niggas for Life, that's literally, they spelled it backwards, obviously, on the record to kind of like shield it a little bit.
Zagging.
Yeah. But just the idea that that was written out on a cover in this variation. So this is also when we start to like distinguish, I think, between the variations of the ER and the A or the AH or the AZ and like all of this other stuff where it becomes like, no, when you say it this way, it
It
is a
means
term
this.
of endearment. But if you say it that way, it is racist and should be condemned,
It's
right?
fighting words, yes.
Fighting words. And it was such a, we have been living this nuance since the 1990s, and I don't know if we're better for the nuance. I
Hmm.
can't speak to if we're better for the nuance. And I wonder if we're not better because there's a whole generation of young people growing up that don't have the visceral reaction we have. We grew up knowing that if certain people said it in a certain way, because we black folks, if you say this word in a certain way and you're this person, you don't mean it the way that it's coming out. But if
Yeah.
somebody else says it, they mean it that way, right? We get that nuance, but we have a whole generation now that doesn't get it. So I don't know if we're better off for it, but N.W.A. opened the door to the word nigga being used everywhere.
I have had a love-hate relationship with the term nigga.
Mm-hmm.
And I could freely admit that it comes from what people call respectability politics. You know, the respectability, you grew up with respectability politics. You know, you grew up a certain way, and you know you don't say those things, especially in front of white people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I told you, my mother thought it was a sign of a weak mind or a low
Mm-hmm.
functioning brain. And so I've always grown up with this love-hate relationship with it, because I know when another black person used it against me, I didn't feel any kind of way. I did feel a kind of way when they used it in front of mixed company. And that was the
Yes.
part where that would always kind of make me cringe. And call it what you want, but it did. It just made me feel some kind of way, because I always felt like that was in some form or fashion like a public lashing. And it felt like a public lashing from another black person in front of white people. And especially if they were trying to put on and they were trying to, you know, it became like they were putting on a show in front of people and they were entertaining and, you know, at my expense. And so I absolutely did, for that reason, I absolutely did not like, and still do not like, when other black people use it in front of white people. And so here we are in this, which brings up another conversation about the reason, because there is a part of what you're saying, J. Ray, is there's a new generation. And I think of young people that feel, especially white people, that feel it's okay because we're 50 years, quote unquote, 50 years deep into hip hop. And so we've got several generations of young people that have been exposed to rap music, including white people, who now feel a type of ownership to this word. And this is what grinds my gears, is that they feel an ownership to the word because they feel like, because this is popular culture and popular music, that it belongs to them also. And that's where, excuse my French, they get it fucked up. Mm-hmm. And one thing when we were talking about having this conversation, I don't understand, especially when you've heard about the history behind the word, how it was used, that it's offensive, why the insistence and the need, the bloodlust even, to use the word. And this has come up, I feel, this has gotten fresh for me after this whole Kevin Hart roast situation, because it's like slowly but surely they're creeping towards bringing that, you know, use of the word back in regular everyday conversation. And I feel like it's really dangerous because when you saw at the roast, you saw how comfortable a lot of the white comedians that were on the show were so comfortable making these really edgy jokes that just stood on a precipice of being super, well, they were offensive. And yes, that is the point. I'm no stranger to roast. I get it. So you can miss the whole Stop trying to educate me on it's just a roast, it's comedy. I get it. I understand that part. But there is something insidious behind it, because you cannot tell me that there is not a correlation between what is happening with our civil rights and this continued use and getting real familiar and comfortable with using terms that at one point white people were too scared to use when it came to talking about black people. And that's the part that's getting my goat. And that's why I just don't understand. Well, now I understand, because I just answered my question. It's because the clock is being rolled back, and white people are feeling emboldened now, like, you know what? I'm tired of walking on eggshells around black people and not being able to say this and that because it's offensive. Now, because they use it, it's been used in all the music that I grew up listening to, and that I grew up, and I'm cool because I know all the lyrics to Snoop Doggy Dogg and this and that. So now I should be able to use it. It's okay. I can use it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I call BS on all of that stuff that people are thinking. And this is why I think history is so important. And I feel like, to your point, with all of the cuts to education, with all the things that are happening as far as the legal the legislation is concerned.
So let me ask you this, J. Ray. How do you feel about um the quintessential white boy who's, cool white boy who listens to rap music and has a black friend, and his excuse to you, J. Ray, is, well, this is my boy. He's okay with it. He lets me use it. Who are you looking at with the side eye? Are you looking at him,
Their
or are you
parents.
looking at the parents? Are you looking? No, I'm looking at the black kid.
I'm absolutely looking at the black kid, but I'm going beyond the black kid. I'm looking at the black kid's parents.
Okay,
Like,
gotcha.
literally, I literally am going to the source. So yes, I'm looking at that little black kid and being like, oh, this you? Like, you letting him do this? And then I'm looking at the parents and being like, so how are you raising a kid that allows a white person to say this word just like it ain't nothing? What lesson didn't you teach them that allows this to happen? And so I'm literally jumping. Yes, I'm looking at that child, but what I'm really seeing is, if I move that child to the side, how did this child not learn that they should not do this?
And then so then here's where the conversation goes. A lot of people like to use the argument, well, when you use a word and you repurpose it, it takes away the power, the negative power that word used to have. And so when we say it, it doesn't have that power. We're reclaiming that power, and we're taking away the negative history of that word.
So if you had caught me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I might have made that argument to be like, you know what,
Really?
there's a record. I may have. I never thought about it like this. I may have made this like, a reclamation of the word, is happening.
Now, are you talking about amongst black people?
Amongst black
I'm talking
people.
about, okay, because I'm talking about mixed company. Because that's
no.
That's the excuse that I'm hearing.
I've never. There's never going to be a point in time. I do not believe that word should be used in mixed company. I do not believe that folks who are non-black have even the inkling that they can even say the word. Baby, if that word is being said and you're in that conversation, you are in the wrong conversation. You know what I'm saying? This is a us conversation. So I think to those people who are saying that we are reclaiming the word, I would say what we are learning in this moment in time tells us that that's not true. That's not what's happening. So if we thought that was a thing that was happening, that we're reclaiming the word and it takes away the power of the word, what our current world is showing us is that's not what's happening at all. It's going to always have the same meaning. It is going to always carry the same hurt. And while that thesis seemed like a good one at the time, what we're learning is that that is not true. And I think we have to go by what we see. It's just not a true statement. That may have felt good at the time, but look at what's going on. Is that still true? You still believe that now?
Right. And again, it goes back to my earlier point, and I'm going to segue into another section in just a second, but it goes back to my earlier point. If we have told you time and time again and have shown you the history about this word and that how we deem it disrespectful when it comes from you, how we deem it disrespectful, hurtful, and harmful, why do you insist on continuing to lust after using the word if in fact you don't respect us? You literally have no respect for us. That's just my
that's what it is.
That's where I stop when it comes to non-Black people wanting to use that word lustfully. And so that takes me to this issue about region, where you grow up regionally in the United States, and back to the music. Because I saw something online recently where some white young man who grew up in Florida, somewhere in Florida, was insistent on saying that, hey, that's a word that we use here. And if you're coming from the North or wherever and you feel insulted, you're just going to have to be insulted because we use that word and it's not, and we use it interchangeably and we use it because it's just a word. And I was like, that's insane, because why, again, to what I've said before, is why do you feel like you can use it? I don't care about your regional politics. And, because you've used, and again, the Black people have given people passes to use the word. Here we are at the cookout again, giving passes and to use this word. And so that then moves into the music.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people feel that if they're in this setting of hip hop and rap music, that they have permission to use the word. And there are some artists who just feel emboldened and empowered to use the word. Non-Black artists, especially, there's a few whites, but then mostly Mexican and Hispanic. Mexican rappers. There was one in particular, I think OT Mexican or whatever. I can't remember his name, but I mean, going hard to use the word nigga in his raps, even after people were saying, no, we don't want to hear that coming from you. We don't want to hear that. But I grew up in the hood, and this is what we do.
So here's the thing. Here's what I say to that. One, learn the history and learn the reason why Black folks are saying that this is not something that you should do. That's just respectful. One, that's just respect. You're learning the history, and then you're respecting the wishes of the people that word impacts. So show respect from that perspective. Two is, if you can't find another word and you are like in your loins, like, I need to use this word, you're a lazy songwriter anyway. There's a billions, I don't know how many words in there's
a whole thesaurus.
There's a thesaurus of words that you can use, right? Pick another word. You know what I'm saying?
But then, J. Ray, we've given passes to certain people. Like, this came up a few years ago with Fat Joe. And Fat Joe has literally put his foot down and says, no, I'm using that word, because in some form or fashion, he feels like he's earned it. And again, we're talking about region, but again, we're talking about regions. And as somebody who grew up in New York, I can attest that this does happen.
It does.
That because certain minorities, particularly Black, Caribbean, and Latino, Afro-Latino communities feel a kinship. And so when you're in that region, especially, New York is big, but it's really not. It's a big compact city at the same time. It's hard to explain. But when you start using those words, especially when you're talking about hip hop, nigga started being co-opted by Puerto Ricans, etc. And so that's why Fat Joe insists that he can use the word nigga because he grew up in the community, he grew up in the culture, he's a street legend, so on and so forth. And I think on some level, we stopped pushing back on that because now Joe, that's Fat Joe. And so apparently we've given him a pass to use the N-word because he is Latino, and some people.
So this is where I feel like community becomes really important, right? Joe, as an MC, has to go into the studio and sit with engineers and producers and people who are there to help shape and mold. If those people who are he's in community with, once again, are like, nah, this is good, you know what I'm saying? Then of course it's going to be good to him. Like, because the people who he's been in community with have said that this is good. So this is why I feel like this is where like history, this is where I feel like community becomes really important, because we as Black folks, we have the power literally over if people can say the word or not. You know what I'm saying? There are words that, Sir Daniel, you and I cannot say as it relates to other communities. It would be offensive and it would get us canceled immediately. We cannot say them. Period. There's not even a question if we can say it or not. So if we know that as Black people, if we know that as Black folks, that there are words that we cannot say or it will be detrimental to our careers and everything, and one is just offensive, and we get that as Black people, why do we let other people do it? And I feel like that's the thing we gotta own. Is it's like
we gotta own that.
We gotta own, like, no, we get to control it, and it's absolutely not. No, Joe, you were in the studio. You got to change that line, bro. You cannot say that word. Nah, not on record.
And so here's the thing. We are the epitome of cool, Black people in this country. We are the epitome of cool. And so when we say something is cool, it's cool. It goes back to my argument about the cookout, the picnics, all of that. It cheapens our brand as Black people when we give out and lend out cool and lend out shine to anybody that just because they're white and they can carry off or they can perform what we deem as Blackness. And so that is, and it cheapens our brand as Black people. It's just like they say, you do not slap a pair of rims on a Jaguar. Or a Rolls Royce. You don't put no rims on a Rolls Royce. That is ruining the brand of a Rolls Royce.
Right.
And they uphold that brand. They will not allow you to do anything to that car, to that brand, because they realize how special it is and to protect it. Black culture is the Rolls Royce of cultures.
We have to believe that about ourselves, because if we believe that about ourselves, here is my vision. Here would be my ultimate vision for this, right? There's that infamous moment of the Kendrick Lamar experience with like the fan on the stage where they're doing the song, and Kendrick like gets that mic and is like, nah, what you not, you know what I'm saying? And what I love about that lesson though, is that teaches the respect. We're not saying that you can't rap all of the song, but what you need to do is respect Black people enough to be like, you know what? I don't have to say that word though. I could just skip that when I rap the word and I can continue on and flow into it, because you know what? I respect these Rolls Royce of people that have created, and I understand that magic is part of that community. And I am a guest in that experience, and I love being part of it. And I don't have to use all the terms because I understand the history and I respect the people.
While you were saying that, I just remembered a moment in time when we're talking about um Latinos, our Hispanic brothers and sisters in the music in the music industry, especially when it comes to hip hop. Do you recall when Jennifer Lopez was featured on a song with One Ja Rule, and she had a verse?
She did have a
where
verse.
she said, "I tell them niggas they can't," and it was like, huh?
Black and wait a minute, black folks was like, well, wait a minute.
Not you.
Not
you.
you.
No, not you, Jennifer Lopez. Because at this time, Jennifer Lopez is like, what, 5 husbands in?
Exactly.
And they've all been white men.
Yes.
Jennifer Lopez, even though she's Jenny from the block, she's from the Bronx and she's Puerto Rican. I think Jennifer Lopez, because she tapped so hard into whiteness and white Hollywood, that coming from her, it was like a white woman. It was just a white woman saying it, and it was an absolute no, because people got offended immediately.
Inherently, we get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it is a matter of, we have to uphold our adherence to our brand at all points. I love that Rolls Royce of culture. Like, I absolutely love that. And I really do see our what we do as that. And I feel like if we uphold that the whole time, we good, right?
That's right. They don't want the struggle. They just want the shine. And bring back roots into the classrooms. That's what it is.
Bring back roots.
You need to make them sit down and watch Roots again. When they stop doing that,
rolling that wheel.
Rolling that, go to the AV department and rolling that TV on that cart and pop in that video cassette, that VCR, and pop in that VHS of Roots, all 4 hours, and make them watch it.
And not be gaslit into people saying, oh, that's old stuff, we ain't got to keep talking about it. I don't want these recipes to get lost, because if we keep letting people run amok the way they've been running amok, we are going to have other problems. I'm glad we had this conversation. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, your thoughts on the use of the N-word in the music or just in general in society, because it's been very different. But if you can see our faces and hear our voices, go ahead and subscribe wherever you are. Share Q Points with your friends, family, and colleagues, because if you enjoy the show, chances are they will as well. Visit our website at qpoints.com. You can watch all of the archive episodes of the show there and become a member. Becoming a member helps to keep the lights on in Q Points land. Shop our store at store.qpoints.com. Check us out on Substack, where we have some additional content as well. We appreciate y'all and we love y'all.
And it's like I say in every episode, in this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, y'all.
And this is Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go around. My niggas count figures.
Hey.
Whoa.